All right, this video is looking at the long-run effects of monetary policy, which is Module 32. So, long-run effects of monetary policy, we practiced in class a worksheet where we ran through several different instances of how the Fed could change monetary policy and then kind of the domino effect as a result. This is just kind of summarizing all of that. So, first of all, any changes in the money supply will initially change aggregate demand, but in the long run what will happen is that nominal wages will also change and thus shift the short-run aggregate supply curve back to the long-run equilibrium, and it'll just be at a different price level. It'll be the same output, it'll be the same level of GDP, which is our potential, but it'll be at a different price level. So to kind of give you a taste of what this looks like, this is kind of just reminding you of one instance similar to what we did in class with our chart in class. So for example, if we start here with, this is our money market graph. So here's our money supply, here's our money demand, and then we have something, the Fed changes the money supply. So maybe, for example, the Fed increases the money supply, and so what are the three things that could increase the money supply? So think about that. Increasing the money supply, you would either have to decrease the reserve requirement, decrease the discount rate, or buy treasury bills. Either any of those three will increase the money supply. And when you increase the money supply from this green line to the blue line, our interest rate drops from R1 to R2. Now, because the interest rate drops, that will affect our aggregate supply and aggregate demand curves. So what happens is in the short run, okay, this lower interest rate will attract more people to get some loans out there. So there will be more loans that will be given out, and so as a result more people have more money, and so then more spending occurs. And if we have more spending, that's our aggregate demand curve moving to the right. So aggregate demand curve moves to the right, and we all of a sudden go from E1 to E2. And so now our price level is increased and our GDP is increased. But that's not the end of the story. That's our short run case. Long run, what will happen is that eventually wages will also follow, because if our price of everything is going up, so the price of everything is going up, eventually workers will say, hey, wait a minute, it's costing me more to buy all this stuff, but my wages haven't changed. I need a raise. So as a result, nominal wages will increase, and when nominal wages increase, our short-run aggregate supply curve will move, and in this case it will move to the left because nominal wages increased. So now in the long run we go from E1 to E3. So notice that our GDP stayed the same. We're still on this YP, this potential GDP, okay, but our price level has increased. Now, because this increase in the money supply, so we move from that green to the blue line, this is domino effect here, it will cause the price level in the long run to increase, so from E1 to E3, but because our price level increased, our money demand will also shift to the right. Because think about it, if it's costing me more to be able to get everything, to buy everything, prices of everything's going up, I need more money, so the demand for money shifts to the right. So if the demand for money shifts to the right, now all of a sudden, if I extended this out, you would find that my interest rate stayed the same. Okay, so in the long run, the only thing that changed is my price level. My price level went up, but my interest rate stayed the same, and GDP stayed the same. Okay, so long-run effects of, in this case, an expansionary monetary policy is the price level increases. However, we could also flip that around, and we could talk about a decrease in the money supply. And a decrease in the money supply would obviously go to the opposite. Instead of us going from the blue line, we go to the green line, and as a result, we would shift our aggregate demand curve to the left. Our short-run aggregate supply curve would shift to the right. Our price level would be dropped, so then we need less money, so our money demand curve would shift to the left, and it would eventually bring us back to the interest rate that we originally started with. Hopefully that all makes sense. Now, here's the thing, is that the changes in the money supply will eventually lead to a proportional change in the aggregate price level. What does that mean? Well, I'm going to bring up these two graphs that I had on the last slide again, and you'll notice that the difference between the green line and the blue line here Okay, so maybe let's say the Fed increased the money supply by 10%. Okay, the difference between the price levels from E1 to E3, okay, is going to be the same amount. This is also going to be an increase of 10%. So the money supply increases by 10%, the price level will increase by 10%. This is what we call a proportional change. And this also illustrates what we call monetary neutrality, because with monetary neutrality, in the long run, money is actually neutral. Yes, it will increase the prices, but because our money demand curve is also moved, we actually all have more money anyways. So even though it sucks because the prices have gone up, we all have more money, so it evens out. Okay, that was one thing with homework assignments that I had people get confused on, and people oftentimes just said the price level goes up. Well, that doesn't explain why money is neutral. You also have to include in there that prices are going up, yes, but people also have more money, so in the long run, money is actually neutral. All right, I think that is it. This will be the next video, so let me know if you have any questions about the effects of monetary policy in the long run.